everybody. I'm here with Raul Villacis. Hope I said it right.
Don't worry, man. People have butchered my last name since the beginning, so don't worry about it.
My name is Carlos. I'm here with On the Road to Success. Came all the way from New York City. Took the train to Stamford, Connecticut to pick your brain, to learn from you, and hopefully to add value.
All right, so let's go. Let's do it. Let's see how we can help you.
Raul, thank you for your time. We actually met at the City Summit a couple of weeks ago. That weekend, you were hosting the event, which was pretty cool. And then you gave a talk as well. What was the talk about?
Well, I did the City Summit the day before, and we talked about entrepreneurship, right? And I know a lot of people love to get inspired and find motivation. I'm kind of like the guy who doesn't believe too much in motivation because I believe motivation is only temporary. I believe in execution. Like motivation is when you actually, have the energy to do something. Execution is when you do it even though you don't have the energy, even though you don't feel like doing it. That's when execution comes into play. So my talk was about what does it take to win? What does it take to become a successful entrepreneur? It's going to take everything. It takes everything to win. Most people are just looking for the shortcut. They're looking for the hack. They're looking for the secret sauce. And I talk about there's no secret sauce. It's just you have to continue to do, continue to find, continue to see what that next level is for you, and don't stop. And when shit gets hard, that's when the fun begins. Because when shit gets hard, most people quit. Most people say, I already tried. I did it. I gave it my best. But that's bullshit. You didn't give it your best. Your best actually shows up when you have adversity, when you have a challenge in your life. That's when the best comes out of people.
If you guys want to see some of the snips of his talk, he actually posted on his Instagram. And you're very active on Instagram. And it was just amazing. The value that you're providing on social media, Raul, is just amazing. You have a podcast. Before the interview started, I actually heard you were doing like a conference where coaching a couple of people, and he was just giving so much value that I don't think a lot of people are doing out there. So I'm very grateful for that, Raul.
Well, it's just, one thing is to put up a show, right? And I think that, what we've been used to in this industry is people putting in a show and being on stage, and everybody could be good on stage for an hour, and everybody could be good on stage for even a whole day. But what I think, and when I started doing this, I said, I want to be who I am, whether I'm on stage, whether I'm in this podcast, whether I'm in an interview. Like that's how I live my life. Like there is no, people ask me like, when do you turn off, Raul? Like there is a turn off button. Like this is who I am. I mean, you came into the studio and I was coaching some guys who are part of my program, and that's what I do. Like the reason I could create content after content is because I'm living this, I'm teaching this, I'm experiencing this every single day, so I don't have to make up shit. I get on stage, and you probably don't know, but he called me up 2 days before, said, Raul, can you host this? I said, okay, no problem. Like I don't have to prepare, and I have to I just go in there and I do, because that's how I live my life. And I think a lot of us are too worried about looking good or putting up a show that we discount the fact that if you run your life the same way, you don't have to put up a show. You have to be who you are from the beginning, and you don't have to remember what you said. You just continue to do you.
That's so awesome. Well, Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm sure you're familiar with him. He always talks about document versus creating. And the documenting part I fell in love with, because when I was trying to create in the first 2 or 3 months of this journey with On the Road to Success, I was not being me. I was kind of like just fronting those people, like those people on Instagram. They're like, this is how you become successful, and then you live like in your basement with your mom, So I started documenting, just like, hey guys, this is who I am. I'm going to an interview like we were doing today. So Raul, let's just backtrack a little bit. We were kind of talking before the interview about your story. I know you're an immigrant from Ecuador. So who was Raul then, and with your family and stuff, and then how did you get to where you are now?
I mean, so it's funny you said that. Like we're constantly trying to portray something that we're not, right? And I have a theory behind it that people talk about like being real or being authentic. I think that we're constantly growing. And authenticity is just based on being comfortable with who you are at that moment. But because if you look back on my content, earlier content, even just 4 or 5 years ago when I started doing Facebook Lives, or even before Facebook Live, it was just content video, I was trying to find my message. So it's very hard to say like, oh, you're not being real or not being authentic. No, it's just you know how much energy and balls you have just to put a video out there? There's like billions of people on Facebook, and there's only hundreds of thousands of people putting out content. That's because it takes a lot of balls for you to say, you know what, here's who I am, here's who I'm trying to be, here's like, I was just telling my clients that. It's like, it takes a lot of balls for somebody to put up a video and say, hey, here's my message, right? Here's what I'm looking to do. So when it comes to authenticity, I think that being real is just being comfortable with who you are, and trying to portray something you're not is just our insecurities, right? Mm-hmm. But once you realize that, the more you start believing in who you are, that image of who you think you are has to also meet the actions that you're taking. For example, like when I started, you asked me who I was, right? I was an employee. I was a high school student. I went to college for 2 years. And if you look at statistics, the Hispanic community, I should have been another employee. I should have just continued to work a job. I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family. I didn't have any teachers in my family. I didn't have anybody in my family that showed me, okay, here's the success business-wise, right? So what changed my life is books. I mean, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Oh. And then he planted that seed of what could be possible. He planted that seed. So then I'd be lying to you if I said like, okay, I'll have everything figured out. No, I started believing. I said, okay, who can I become? Who do I need to become in order to be a millionaire? What do I need to become in order for me to be wealthy? What do I need to become in order for me to have an impact? And I started reversing engineering and believing in the dream. So I started eating up books. I mean, at that time, it was tapes. So I used to buy tapes. I used to put tapes in my car. I used to listen to tapes every single time about, whether it's business tapes or Tony Robbins tapes or all these other, speakers tapes. And it was like, that was what I did. And my friends used to come into the car and say, hey man, come on, let's put some music. I love music. I love hip hop. I love rap. But I was like, I'm in a journey to figure out how I could make it happen. And it wasn't normal, okay, for a kid that is Hispanic to be into that. So I used to go to meetings, I used to go to seminars. I was the youngest guy in the room, and I was probably the only Hispanic in the room. So people looked at me like, hey, are you here to, are you working? Are you working in this restaurant? Are you working in this hotel? I said, no, man, like I'm paying to be here. So I had to overcome all those thoughts of what people thought of me at the beginning. And then I started realizing, okay, I could make it a business. So my first deal was, okay, I'm going to buy a real estate property, based on the book, believing. So the first thing you have to believe that you can do it. So I remember walking into a bank and applying for a loan. I was like, no, you can't buy a property. You have a job, you do this. So I took that no, and I said, okay, someone's gonna figure out how I could buy this property. Someone's gonna help me. So I didn't just take this no from. I went to a local bank, and the local bank shut me down. So from that local bank, I started finding out like who could help me get a loan. And then this guy referred me to this guy, to another guy, until some guy said, you know what, I could give you the loan, we could make this paperwork, you're gonna have to have like 500 co-signers, right? So I said, okay, I know a bunch of my family members, so they helped me co-sign my first property. So my first property, I won't lie to you, I'm remembering right now that in the closing table, there was about 10 people in the closing table to buy my first property. And I was 21 years old, and the banker says, I've never met a young guy like this that was so driven to get it done that he didn't take no for an answer. He found ways. So people co-signed for my property, we bought it, and I flipped it, and within 3 months I made $100,000, which was the most money that I ever made in my life. And then from that moment I took the $100,000 and then they didn't have to co-sign with me anymore.
You were 21 at that time?
I was 21 by my first property, Jesus. And that's when I realized, okay, I could make money in real estate. And that's what I was able to actually feel the check. I didn't, I went to cash it, I went to have all the money, I went to feel it. I said, okay, how can I make this happen? Then I deposited that money and I said, I want to look for more real estate. So that was the beginning, like the belief to overcome what people think of you, and then not taking no for an answer and trying to figure out how do you get to that place. And then from there, I was like, okay, how do I reverse engineer this? I did it one time, I could do it again and again. And that's when my brother and I, we started flipping properties. We started, playing the game of real estate. And I remember, opening up a brokerage, a mortgage company, an investment firm within, a short period of time. We were successful. And I continued to push myself to look for that next level. I remember running my business out of my house. People used to come to my house to look for advice from me in real estate. I didn't even have an office. And I remember, driving a car that was beat up because all the money that I had, I was putting in real estate. I wasn't taking any money. I wasn't living the luxury life because back then there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook. I didn't have anybody to impress. And I think that's what's going on right now. Though we as soon as we make some money, man, let me flash the watch. Let me flash this because back then they didn't have anybody to impress. I mean, my family knew who I was, so they didn't have to pretend I was somebody that I wasn't. All I knew how to do was grind and hustle, right? And then when we started grinding and hustling, people started seeing our success, they start asking for advice. And that's how we started growing our business.
Wow. I don't know if you know David Meltzer. He's the CEO of Sports One Marketing in California, international speaker, best-selling author, the whole nine, all that good stuff. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago, and he basically said, a lot of people tend to focus in a lot of their energy on that no, when you're probably 12 no's from that yes that you want. That house that you want to sell, that business you want to open, that girl that you want to meet or guy you want to meet. So it's so amazing that you're talking about not focusing on the no and kind of just keep going and moving on, right?
I think a lot of people, like I said, you go into this journey of entrepreneurship and you find a roadblock, right? My roadblock at that moment is I have this epic book. I want to become a millionaire in real estate. According to the book says, follow these steps to become a millionaire. And then I'm following these steps and then I hit the roadblock of a no. I think that's where the game starts for most entrepreneurs. What you do with that no, what you do with that roadblock is what's going to separate you from the rest of the people that are going to turn around with their tails between their legs saying, I tried this and it didn't work. And what I've discovered is that those roadblocks, they don't stop. I mean, there's going to be roadblocks after roadblocks after roadblocks. And, back then, I remember the problems that we had back then, it felt like they were enormous roadblocks. Now they're like little pebbles. But now there's other roadblocks that come with it. So the game of entrepreneurship, just like I said in that talk, is more of a spiritual game that is
You posted about that this morning.
It's you developing who you are. It's going to test your faith. It's going to test your integrity because especially in the game, there's going to be a lot of chances for you to bend your integrity and say, okay, do I take this money versus owning? Like we were just talking about it before this interview. Like listen to that inner voice. Sometimes in business, there's a lot of shady shit going around, and you might have to check your integrity because there's the temptation of do I take this money and I look the other way, or do I really do what my voice is telling me to do? And that's one of the reasons in real estate, when I started creating this program, is because in real estate there is that potential to lose yourself. I mean, I lost millions of dollars when the crash came, and then I started investing in foreclosure properties, and we manage and we handle assets for big institutions, thousands of properties. But then this dark part of it is that I saw families losing their homes. I saw families at the worst of their experience. And here I am, a guy who's trying to change the world, a guy who's trying to impact the world, making money and benefiting from the worst situation. And how I justify it in my mind is hey man, if I don't do it, somebody's gonna do it. Might as well be getting paid for it, right? So that caused me to go through a realization of what the fuck was I really doing with my life. My identity was married to what I did for a living, being a real estate investor, right? But who was Raul after you separate that? What's the impact that I was making? And that's what created this shift to what I've gone in the last 5 years, is to create an impact. It's not just about making money, it's about creating an impact.
Wow.
It's not how you make the money, is what's the impact that you're creating with the money that you're making.
Right.
And that's the reason I attract a lot of high-level entrepreneurs who work with me, because they realize that making money, once you know how to make money, is not a problem. The second problem is keeping the money and making an impact. Or, at the same time, keeping your shit together, making money, and keeping your marriage together. I mean, that's the biggest struggle that I see in entrepreneurs right now. We know how to make money, we know how to build businesses, but our health is fucked up, and our marriages are fucked up, and therefore we justify it by saying, at least I'm making money, or at least I'm making an impact with my business. But is that really the legacy you want to live? divorce, broken family, sick. Is that what your kid? So that's why I see your generation looking at your parents like, shit, they work 2 jobs and they have that marriage. I don't want to do that.
Right.
Or they're looking at the entrepreneur that's constantly hustling and saying, you know what, I don't want to hustle 24/7. I want to have a life. I want to have fulfillment. And that is like your generation, the millennial generation, is the first generation that I feel is trying to get it right. Meaning, don't sell out just for the money or the success. There has to be an impact and a purpose behind it. When I was growing up, it was just about making money, hunt, and that's success. That's what all the books said. Now you have a different point of view. The millennials, I think, now are trying to get it right. Where we fucked up is that we were just focusing on the money. Now you see all our generation saying, you know what? We actually didn't have it, right? We actually didn't, we actually took jobs that we hated. We had careers that we hated. Now when we're trying to find ourselves, we have to go through pain. I honor guys like you that say, you know what? I'm going to take time off from what I do for a living and I'm going to find my purpose. Very rare that you find guys in my generation that were doing that. It was all about the hustle, the money, succeed at all costs, kill, and make it. That's the reason we have a high ratio of divorce, because we didn't have our priorities right.
Guys, this is powerful stuff. If you're not taking this in, I don't know what to say, but this is truly amazing. What you're spitting out, I'm truly enjoying it. I just want to kind of like keep you going, cancel your appointments. But Raul, so you were young, you were 21 years old, you flipped a house, you made $100 grand. I'm very curious to ask you this question. Did you have any mentorship, or you're like, shoot, maybe I should find somebody that's doing it and kind of like guide me along the way? Did you have a mentor along the way?
That was my success story. That my mentors were guys who've had a lot of business experience, like guys who own thousands of units. So I definitely had a sphere of influence of people who were older than me saying, hey man, I'm proud of what you're doing, keep on doing it. So it came to the point that we were just buying pretty much a house a day. Like my brother and I, we were like, every time we were in an attorney's office closing deals, and at that level of, like, we had so much success at a shorter period of time that we actually didn't have a plan B. We thought it was always going to be here. And I think that's a mistake. All my mentors, I didn't listen to them when they said, hey Raul, put some money, diversify. Don't go all in on real estate, because real estate is gonna crash. I'm like, what are you talking about, this is gonna crash? Because I've never been in a crash before. So I'm like, we're going up, and every time that I'm putting money in real estate is turning into gold, why should I stop? So that's why every time that I made money, I just bought another property. So I doubled down on real estate, and when the market crashed, I was stuck with a lot of assets that were not liquid.
Right.
A lot of my mentors were in the same situation because they didn't listen to that voice. So what I started to see was like, okay, the market crashed. There was a lot of depression, a lot of bloodshed in the real estate world. And that really put things in perspective, because I know how to make money, I know how to succeed, but can I make it again? And that's when you see a lot of people losing that edge, because failure at a small level, you could handle. Failure at a big level, some people won't come back from it. I know a lot of guys who never, divorced, they never got back that certainty because their wound was so deep that they lost that certainty. I was blessed that, I found opportunities, and I actually doubled down in myself that I found those guys who made it after a crash. So if one thing you ask me, I found mentors that have been through that experience, that, okay, here's what you do. Here's what I did from going through what I call the tunnel. So I was blessed that I found people that have been through what I've been through and were able to walk me through those bombs so I don't sabotage myself.
And one of those people, we were talking before this interview, you were talking about your wife. How your wife has been a blessing in your relationship. How have you balanced your your marriage and your business and success and all that stuff?
Well, I don't believe in balance. I believe in integration. And I talk about how my wife has been a key part of my life to push me and to constantly don't buy into my bullshit, but constantly keeping me to the next level. And integrating your family. Like my son just wrote a book, by the way, is in Amazon. The Kid's Code to Rule the World is actually launching this week. I integrated my whole family because it's a family business. It's like, we're documenting our growth. My wife has a podcast, God, Money, and Sex. My son has a book, Kids Code to Success. My little girl is studying to be a designer. That we flip houses and she designs the interior of the house. So when it comes to families, a family business is an integration. It's a part of who we are. So it's not like, okay, we go to work or we do this. No, we're constantly looking to see how do we integrate our family into what we do. That's what's missing, I think, is more people talking or teaching their kids what to do for a living. It's like we separate what we do for a living with our kids. No, even if you're an accountant, bring your kid to your office. Help them see what you do, like crunch the numbers. Like, that's what I did for my son.
Yeah.
He used to come to my real estate office every single Friday because that's how he got paid. He asked me for an allowance, and I told him, if you want to make money, you have to bring value. Come to my office every Friday, you sit down, you learn something, and I'll give you $10. So I think that's where there is no balance. It's more of an integration. How can you bring God into your business? How can you bring your health? Like this morning, before I start everything, I go to the gym because I'm integrating my life. I have this energy because I'm constantly taking care of myself. I meditate. I work out. I eat the right foods. Not because I'm a nutrition freak or I'm a health freak or I'm trying to get ripped and be a model. Is because I know that the more I work out, the more I eat healthy, and the more I take care of myself, the more energy I have to be with my family, to bring value to my clients, to be able to do what I do. Without that, I'm dragging my ass. So I use all those things in my life to integrate. If I don't meditate, if I don't get closer to God, I won't listen to that voice inside. So it's the intention to do something every single day that's gonna get you closer to that ultimate vision of yourself. And when shit gets hard, you do it anyways. When you don't feel like doing it, you do it anyways. And when you think it's not working, you do it anyways. That's been a whole model. It's like, I don't wait for motivation. I just have a ritual. That's what I teach. Rituals every single morning. A ritual to follow through. My business is a ritual. My relationship is a ritual. So I ritualize my life so I don't have to depend on motivation. I just have to show up and just do it.
That's so amazing. I started to integrate with my wife as well. Lately, she flew with me to California a couple of times. She came with me she didn't come to the city summit, but she's been to some of the interviews I've done. And I feel like having her next to me has pushed me so much further than how I was by myself. Not that I wasn't doing what I had to do. I've done a lot by myself. But having that key person, my wife, who I'm with all the time, in everything that I'm doing, is so important to me.
So, you guys have kids?
I don't have a kid, but she has a son. He's 15, yeah.
So, when I started my entrepreneurship career, my wife and I were dating. We were 19 years old. And we got invited to a meeting. It was a real estate conference. And the guy says, "Is this your wife?" And I said, "No, it's my girlfriend." And then he kind of like, okay, we had a small conversation. And then I started thinking about like, what's my commitment level, right, on my business, and what's my commitment level with my girlfriend. So I look at it, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So at that moment, I decided if I'm gonna commit,
how you do anything is how you do everything.
It's like how you handle your business is how you handle your relationship. So I said, okay, if I'm gonna commit to build something, I was 19 years old, like I'm gonna commit to it. Because at that point, 19 years old, we were just, boyfriend, girlfriend, we're kind of going through the trenches. But at that moment, I realized that if I wanna build a business, I need to have a woman that is going to build it with me. So at that moment, I made a psychological shift in my mind and said, okay, I want to be in a committed relationship. So from there on, we started taking our relationship seriously at 19. And because we took our relationship seriously, we got married at 21. I started my business at 21. I bought my first house at 21. So everything that happened, you see what happens? Like when you commit to something, you start committing to everything else. So then it's how you handle your marriage, it's how you handle your business. So there's no coincidence. When I look back, it's like, man, I made this shift. I made a commitment. Okay, I'm going to be with this woman. I'm going to go all in with this woman. I'm going to commit Then it was a reflection of I'm committed to this business, I'm gonna commit, and then I'm gonna commit to, so then everything happened the moment that you make a decision to commit. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, whether there's a workout plan, whether it's whatever it is, just like the psychology factor of commitment. So when you're saying that when my wife came in is pushing me, it's just the fact that you're committed to something. That your energy is focused, okay, I'm committed. Now I'm going to use the same energy to build a business. I'm committed. So that's what I want you to be aware is that the reason that you're becoming better is because you're training your mind to follow through and be committed to something.
How you do anything is how you do everything, right? My wife tells me that all the time. Well, at least earlier this year, she used to tell me, you're talking about this, and when you come home, you're not that. Especially with us, you're talking about having empathy and listening and communication, and you're not communicating, you're not having empathy towards me, none of that. So how you do anything is how you do everything. That's gonna be like an Instagram clip that everybody's gonna enjoy there. Alright guys, I really hope you're enjoying this. Just to wrap it up, Raul, what is maybe some tips or some keys or some principles that you will want to close this interview off with and make somebody watch it again? What would you want to say to them?
So, because we're coming close to the end of the year, like right now we're in the fourth quarter, and like my theme right now with my clients is like, you gotta close the year strong. And you can't wait until 2019 to actually start getting your shit together. You have to start getting your shit together now. So the way I look at it, I just wrote an article in Entrepreneur Magazine. You go to entrepreneur.com, look for my name, and there's an article like certain steps to take to close the year strong. So the one thing I would tell a person that's watching this video that could help them is, don't think about January 1st being the beginning of 2019 in your business. The way that I've run my life is that I have a January 1st moment every 100 days. So I'm constantly celebrating a new year every 100 days. So I live my life, that's what you see, a 100-day challenge, right? I live my life 100 days at a time. So that's how you're gonna be able to compound time. Because if you look at the statistics, like most people never reach their New Year's resolutions, they don't reach their year goals because it's too big, it's 12 months. Chunk it down into 100-day habits. So from here on until 100 days, who are you gonna become? Can you really put yourself that pressure to work on 100 days? And with my coaching program, I train people to think short term, but have a long term vision. Execute short term. Don't tell me about the shit you're gonna do 5 years from now, 12 like that's a vision, that's great, I want you to have that. Tell me what you're gonna do in 100 days. And let's measure what you do in 30, 60, and 100 days. Because if you keep it in a small, segmented time, you're actually gonna achieve more. Because you're training yourself. It's like when you go to work out, right? Mm-hmm. You're working out, you said, okay, one day I'm gonna lift all these weights. Okay, that day may never come. But I said, okay, I know what you're gonna lift 5 years from now. Can you lift this now and let's put more weight in 100 days? We keep on, I guarantee you that you're gonna start lifting more weights within 100 days because you're mindful of what's gonna happen in 100 days. So one thing I could give you an insight is I've lived my life for the past, 7 years, 100 days at a time. And that's how I've grown exponentially in every single area, because I'm not looking for that January 1st moment at the end of the year. I'm looking for that 100-day challenge every single time.
I'm gonna jump on that 100-day challenge. I hope you guys do it as well. Raul, so where do we follow you? If they want to contact you, if they want to reach out to you, where do we go
to the nextlevelexperience.com. I'm actually coming out with a 100-day challenge for the end of the year. It's gonna be a online product as well as a coaching program. And that's gonna be tied in to a leadership event in January. So I have a leadership event January 29th and 30th here in Stamford, Connecticut. And what I'm gonna do is actually develop an app that my clients, I have a lot of high-end clients that pay a lot of money for it. So what we've done is actually we're taking this and we're going to launch an online product so other people could actually benefit from it. That you don't have to necessarily be coached by me directly, that you could use the system and the process and the training, and you'll come to a leadership event so you get around other people that are doing big things.
So stay tuned for all that information. I'm definitely going to put everything in the description below, the links and all that, podcast, Instagram. Follow Raul, guys. I followed him, I heard of him, and I was scared, but I just did it anyways. What's the worst that could happen? He says no, he's busy, and that's it, like everybody else says. But I asked him, I wanted an interview, I came here, I was willing to add value and do the work, and made this interview happen.
Awesome, proud of you, brother. Keep on doing it.
Thank you, Raul. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.